So you've been, now that you mentioned the retiree club, why don't you explain a little bit of what that is and your involvement in it?
Okay, well, any union retiree from our union, and I think we even have some people from other unions, but mostly machinist union, they meet actually every Monday at our union hall, Stewart's Hall here. And 3 Mondays is kind of a card playing bingo with a light lunch. The second Monday is a business meeting, and they have some reports, legislative report, which is one of the things I work on, and the sending delegates or any business that meets. But the basic idea is to keep members and tied in with the union, aware of what the union is doing, and some of our political suggestions. And also, they have a lunch, they get together, so it's fellowship. And we actually have about 8,000 people on the books, but maybe a couple hundred at the Christmas banquet is usually the biggest event, and we probably get a couple hundred. We have a picnic in the summer. So I'm hopeful that we can, keep that club active and get people to participate. But they meet, like I say, in the Union Hall here, and there's a lunch and a little fellowship, and that's it.
Now, have you been the legislative person in the retiree club since you retired, or is it more recent?
It's more recent. There were a couple other people. In fact, a guy named Cy Noble was the director for a while, and then he moved. And when I worked with him for a while, and then he moved to Utah, and when he left, I told Al Wydick was the president then that I would do it. And so Al said he was happy to have me. So we make a report on issues that are important to seniors. Mm-hmm. And just this last week we went to Olympia on the same idea, to talk to the legislators and let them know, number one, that we are aware of what's going on down there and that we are interested. And number two was that hopefully they will see our way on voting on some of these issues. And we'll continue to do that. Mm-hmm. And we also do it on a national level. As you know, we go to conferences occasionally and on national legislation.
And other things that you've been involved with since you've retired?
Well, I was going to say not necessarily just since I retired, but I have been active in the Democratic Party right from the very beginning too. And I've been chair of the legislative district organization in the 80s and the 90s. And in fact, I retired about 3 times, and each time I retired in 1980, they redrew the district lines, mm-hmm. and the new district didn't have a chair, so I ran for that in 1990. And then in 2000, the same thing happened, so I ran again. But in 2010, no, I'm not. I did get redistricted again in 2010, but I'm not running for office. Although I still I'm a precinct committee officer, and I try to keep active politically too. So I think that kind of goes together with the union and the political involvement. And like I said, we do some traveling. We went to Germany. We took our elder hostel trip to China, which was very interesting. And we have been to Hawaii, so we have had vacations. And I have 4 sons, and they all live in California. I'd say 3 solid Union Democrats, and 1 is a little bit shaky on the Libertarian side. He's not a Republican, but 3 out of 4 is not too bad. And I have 4 grandchildren, and they're all pretty much pro-labor Democrats. So I feel like my one grandson served in Iraq. Oh, I am a veteran. I was in the Korean War, mostly in Alaska. I think I mentioned that. And my son was in the Navy, and then my grandson was in the Army, and he went to Iraq in 2004 to 2005. And the gripe on that was that he got out, his enlistment was up in January. When he went to Iraq the following March, the president signed a stop-loss order, weren't too happy with that. But anyway, mostly safe and sound return, so. So those are some of the other things.
So, what do you think are, as you look back on your career, what are some of the more important things that you can?
Well, I would like to see the retiree club become more people get involved in it, and I make suggestions as I can. I've got a lot of free suggestions, but it's harder to implement them. But yeah, I'd like to see the retiree club more active. I'm glad that the company and the union are obviously working together pretty good right now, and that airplane business looks like it's going to be good for a while. So our members that are working here will have jobs at least into the future. So that's good. I have a nephew that's working at Boeing and a grandson. So there are people in the family that are continuing on. They're both in the union, so active in the. Well, I wouldn't say they're active, but they're good members. So I'm glad for that. I am disappointed in the government of the state for not raising revenue, but that gets into political speeches.
So, what would you, if you could briefly say your philosophy on the importance of a union and being involved in a union?
Well, I think it is important to be in a union, and it's important to be involved. You can go to the statistics and show that union members have a better pay and more benefits and that type of thing. But the real kicker, in my mind, is what they call the fire at will. And if you don't have a union, you can work 20 years with a perfect record and all that, and get a new supervisor who doesn't know you and he's making room for somebody, can fire you like that with no reason. If you have a union contract, there has to be cause. Now I realize that they can make cause, but the cause has to be with a union contract. You have to convince and ultimately have to go to an impartial arbitrator. So if they fire you for cause, you have the ultimate right to have an impartial arbitrator decide. Well, that's pretty heavy protection. I've been in the shop. I worked, most of my career in the shop, and just knowing that that's there, it's worth whatever possible dues you can pay. A person like myself, I'm outspoken. I'm willing to stand up and point out safety violations, and when workers are mistreated or something, and they don't like that. Any non-union shop, I would have been gone a long time ago.